So I'll first present myself. I think I'm the junior person here because I only have 16 years of experience in PR and marketing, so I don't add much to the other numbers, but I'll try to show you a bit how things work here in France. So I'm managing director of Tukilik PR. We are a tech PR agency, B2B and B2C, and we also work in healthcare, clean tech, energy, and higher education. Myself, I've been working pretty much in technology, and I served a lot of IT security and network companies, as you can see, F-Secure, WebSense, A2G, Avast, and many more. And I've been working with a lot of international companies because one of maybe the chances I have is that I'm fluent in English, so I understand pretty well the way US works. So this helped us create a lot of successful launches and strategies for all these companies here. And a lot of the points that I'll be talking about are pretty close to what has been said, but France still is a pretty complex country, and you'll see that we have a lot of cultural specificities that can be tricky sometimes if you don't have a feet on the ground and a person who knows the country. A quick word about Tukilik. So we were created in 1994, and the name next to Tukilik Revolution 9 Group is a group we joined actually a year and a half. So now we are still independent in our activity, but we are part of a group where we're 170 people, and we serve pretty much any marketing service you would need, from consulting, brand positioning, social media, video, website, and all digital campaigns. So we can really help you not only in PR but in all the fields that help you address the journalists, but also your clients and the French market. So let's move on to the next slide. A quick overview of the French media landscape. We have more than 7,000 media. This gathers online, print, and broadcast. About 77,000 journalists. If I think we were 40,000 a few years ago. So press has been pretty much shrinked a lot in the past years. Most of the press is located in Paris, national, specialized, and verticals. And if you want to talk with media, with the people, clients, or partners out of Paris, local dailies have a strong influence, and they can even have influence in the business side when you have a nice success story with a local company. So this is something that you should not neglect, is identifying with your local partners some local stories, and this can be leveraged locally. We were talking about social media before, and bloggers and social media have been, France has been a bit late on the adoption of these new media. So we see a stronger influence of bloggers in the B2B field. It wasn't the case 3 or 4 years ago. Now we're getting some good bloggers. And linked to this, the social media in the B2B field is still very, has a very low maturity. So I would say that Twitter is starting to come up, but the most influenced social media in business to business would be LinkedIn today. Knowing that we work Twitter accounts for some US-based companies, and we have a hard time gaining influence in some verticals like supply chain or security. So don't think that you can have the same success in social media, and specifically on Twitter in France, right away. And I think in the next 2 to 3 years the influence will be stronger, but it's still in the mix of the users. We can move on to the next slide now. Talking about the market, and specifically talking about the IT market and how the IT press has been moving on in the past 10 years. We have lost many print publications. On the other side, we gained a lot of online magazines, but we still have a strong shrink in the IT press. So obviously journalists have very little time dedicated to media and to clients and media relations. So we need to have reliable information and really be positioned as a source of information, a reliable source of information to the media. And this is something very important, because once you begin getting being identified by the media, they will be calling you, and you'll be present on a regular basis in the media and the features. Of course, for this, the information needs to be local, needs to address the concerns of the first circle of readers of the magazines. For instance, if we talk in CIO magazines, we have to have a CIO-centric communication, because today media has become reader-centric. They don't sell as much as they used to, and the community, the power of the reader community is really the main focus today for the media. So as in sometimes big advertisers were privileged to good sources of information, today journalists will really have a focus on what interests their readers, and this is IT press, but it's also talking about verticals. We really think about who is the decision maker, who is the reader, and what content should we deliver. So we need French information, obviously. European information can be used. For instance, we work with a company who has probably a success story with Lufthansa, which is a big airspace company. This can be used in a vertical talking about airspace here. But most of the time, if we talk about French information, it concerns success stories, surveys, or any type of content that we will be delivering to the media. It needs to be French, and even if you think it's major in your region, it might not be here. So we are here also to be a filter to your success. So really, we ask you to listen to us and to trust our consulting, because we know, and I think you saw with the experience of everyone here, that we know how to build up this experience and make sure that we optimize the presence in the media and create a long-term presence through these actions. So we can move on to the next slide. So still talking about market specificities, and this comes really even stronger when you talk about France. We have to really think when you have a major launch about the month you'll be launching your product. May, for example, is a very bad month. We have like 4 or 5 bank holidays, which result in creating 5-day weekends. So you get very short days of work, and you can't do an event, you can't do a launch at that moment. This is really a moment you can't do it. July and August, July is okay till around the 20th, but between 20th of July and end of August, it's kind of dead. Most of the media are closed. They usually close last week of July and reopen on the 3rd week of August. So it's really a moment where we can plan. If you are if you can talk about consumer topics, and this is, for example, in the security field, you can give tips for the holiday or talk about some major outbreaks, but you won't have the same reach you have when, for example, you have a launch in September, October, or November, or another month in the year. You also need to choose your day. We usually recommend to have press launches or press events on Tuesday or Thursdays. Wednesday is Mother's Day, or Kids at Home Day, we would say, so many journalists are out of the office. Monday is not a good day either, and Friday either. So as you can see, when you really need to choose your good moment when you want to launch a product here. And once again, we are here to help you and give you the support, the local support to optimize this launch or this activity. We can move on to the next slide. So talking about journalists, what they like, when you're going to talk to a journalist, you're going to create a relationship. I think one of the main points is read a few articles, or we will send you some articles and give you some insight on what were the key points. We'll talk about this with your local speaker. You need to show interest in what they do. Talk to them about the last article they wrote, even if you don't agree. This will show that you have a first level of commitment and of interest, and you're not just trying to use him for an opportunistic activity. Journalists like also, and this is, when you have a first meeting and you don't know the journalists, they like to people who can talk on different topics. Talk about your market, but talk about the economy, talk about this or that news outbreak that came out in the IT industry. Show that you're interesting, and that maybe they can call you when they're writing an article about a different topic, and still you can give an interesting point of view. They like when we go straight to the point. They like facts and figures. They need local speakers. In France, journalists don't speak English that well, so most of the time, if you don't have a local speaker, they won't always accept the interview, and if not, they'll ask the agency to do the translation. But this doesn't show a great commitment to the market, so this needs to be addressed. They like success stories, and this is really with this new orientation, reader-centric orientation. Success stories is the user talking to the user, and this is really what they like in their magazines. What they don't like is a speaker with a PowerPoint presentation, standard corporate presentations. You need to be flexible when you talk to a journalist. You need to know that you're addressing not only the journalist, but his audience. CEO or executive speeches, they don't care about that. They prefer to have an interesting CTO who can talk about hackers or the challenges of mobility, and not only talk about his company, his product, and the growth he had last year. People, they don't, we had this case talking about the French market in English. We worked for Fujitsu, PFU Fujitsu, which is the scanner division of Fujitsu, and they had a media partnership with the media, and they wanted the journalist wanted a specific French local interview, and they said their European product manager could do that, and he refused the interview because he said, and this is the following point: a global company with no local presence, or no person who can speak English French, is not a global company for them. So and they don't like companies, and mostly leading companies, who don't have proper screenshots, proper pictures, and this gets back to what has been said before in terms of preparation of the launch. This is very important to have the proper material if you want to show that you are a good partner for the journalists. We can move on to the next slide. So what's best here? Local press releases and success stories. This is definitely, and I say French only because most of the time they will not accept foreign country case studies, except leading European countries that have an influence, like Lufthansa, for example, as I said before. Surveys, and generally I would say figures, facts. We can have European surveys with relevant information about France. They use this pretty regularly. Infographics, mainly for blogs. Company that can talk about many subjects. If you're talking only about yourself, they won't follow you. What does not work? Press conferences and events. This is definitely not something working. Product launches with only a text story. You have to put it in a context, in a user context. New solutions with no differentiator, version 2.1.3, we don't need to talk about this. Roundtables with international experts. We need to have French experts, people who know the market, and US-centric communication, and this is not to have a negative finish, but this is very important, and we have had a lot of issues with our clients in the past explaining that the localization is key to the success.